Good evening, everyone. So, I think most of our nodal committee members are here, except Mr. Sohail Khan sir. We'll just wait for him for some more time, and then we'll continue. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah, Shikta, you are.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I hope, I think now we have all our team members on who joined for the workshop. Mr. Sohail Khan sir, I can see Mr. Sohail Khan sir, Mr. Abid Hussain sir, Indrajit Chaudhary sir, Muklesur Rahman sir, and yes, Iqbal Khan sir, and the Nodal Secretary as well. So, with your permission, I would just like to start today's session. Also, thank you so much for sharing the latest financial statements. I received it just about 10 minutes ago. But we will probably try to enter data from that sheet if today or not, if not today, tomorrow, and see how it goes. Now, just to give an overview, so we started last week to understand the model structure, what are the different sheets, what are the different responsibilities of the committee. Then we went on to the historical data update procedure. And last week, the last session that we had, we delved slightly more deeper into the data update procedure. We went on to line by line operational inputs and financial input update procedure. So today we are going to, understand what the what the outputs the model can generate, and see what are the inputs required to help the model generate that, understand the connection, how the model works. And in the next session, we will scenario reports. Hello. Yes. And lastly, on the 6th, the last workshop that we would have on 27th Jan would be focusing on the working of the model. So it's not related to the input or the output. It's about the processing sheets, in between sheets that are there in the model. What is the logic of how the model runs? Now, for this, because the nodal officer would be responsible for handling the Excel model itself, we would request if mainly Mr. Muklesur Rahman sir, if he could attend that session. For others, it is optional, but for the nodal officer, it would be important to understand the entire working of the model. So this is the plan that we have for the coming week. So because it has been quite some time, I'll just quickly do a recap what we have discussed so far. So we talked about how the model has 8 different sheets, 3 sheets for input, 3 sheets for processing, and 2 sheets for output, right? And within the 3 input sheets, we have main assumptions, which are all general assumptions, which have to be updated only once. It's not necessary only on a need basis. It's not a regular update. Divasa historical data has to be updated every year. And then we have the input parameter sheet. Again, with the target parameters, every time you generate a report, you have to update the input parameter sheet. So these are the 3 different input sheets. And in terms of processing, we have the accounts, Divasa accounts, which is projecting all the future financials. Then we have calculations, which is having all the rationale of in between, like how revenue is projected, how demand is projected, and so on. Then we have leakage energy, which is specifically for understanding the NRW aspects and the investment in new assets versus existing assets rehabilitation. So that is the processing sheet. And then the output, we have the dashboard, which is the primary thing that we'll be referring to for generating scenario reports. So these are the different sheets of the model. Now, and we also discussed what is the responsibility looking like. So we, as you could have seen, that we have also updated the procedure based on the inputs provided. That first we will start off, the first meeting, from the first meeting within 30 days, within 90 days is when the final report will be circulated. By the first meeting, the time of first meeting will be decided by the convener, sir, based on his visibility of the financial accounts data. So we are going to spend as you can see, there will be 4 meetings to help in this process, 4 committee meetings. In between the meetings, there will be data collection and data input done in the model. And we will also have to look at what are the strategic inputs required for operating the model. So these are the different aspects that we will be doing as in the course of every year for financial model update and maintenance. So before we go ahead, I just want to take a pause here and gather if everyone is with me so far, whether the understanding is clear. So how many, I would just request you to open the chat box and comment your answers, because we are a small team. Just would urge you. First question, which is how many worksheets are there in the financial model? If any one of you remember, request you to kindly just open the chat box. Even if you remember or not remember, there is nothing wrong here. You can just type out how many worksheets are there in the financial model. We'll have just to see if the understanding is clear. I also did a small recap now. So I believe just open the chat box and type out how many worksheets are there in the financial model. So we discussed there is input, processing, and output sheets. We discussed how there are 3 different input sheets. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Swelkar, sir. Yes, you are very right. There are totally 8 worksheets in the financial model. Very right. And so now, what are the 3 input sheets to the model? That we saw that there are 3 different input sheets. If anyone can suggest what 3 different input sheets there. So what is the difference between the 3 input sheets? So one we have for historical data, the other is for general need basis projection assumptions, and third is for strategic. So I'm already commenting on the need, but I would like if any of you can comment on what are the 3 input sheets, if you remember. If not, it's fine. I will just quickly take you through it, because anyways, once you see the model, that will be. So we have main assumptions, which is for projection related assumptions, historical data, which is for projecting based on the past historical data. Input parameters is the strategic inputs. These are the 3 different sheets in the model. Now, how frequently are you expected to enter operational and financial inputs? Any answer for that? Are you expected to do it monthly, quarterly, annually, daily, weekly? Any answer? Just to understand how frequently will you have to do the operational and financial inputs data update? Any answer? Okay, need basis. Yes, sir. Need basis is required only for few sheets, but financial year would be the more appropriate answer, because we will, once every financial year ends, this model is to project the future financial statements. So once a financial year ends, you can update the data for operational and financial year. Yes, yes, correct. Yearly. Yes, correct. Now, the last thing, what are the key activities in terms of the procedure for the committee? What are the key activities that you can think of? So we did talk about the different meetings that have to be held, and what are any activities that you distinctly remember in terms of the update procedure? I'm not looking at all the activities. You can keep typing any activity that you remember, just to see if all of us are clear in terms of the roles and responsibilities for the committee. Yes. So feeding data is definitely the main activity. And before we feed data, we'll also have to collect data. And so circulating input formats, collecting data, and then feeding data to the model. That will be the role of most officials. Once that is done, now today's discussion will all be about what are the different outputs that this model can generate and how do we interpret these outputs. How should we generate scenario reports for the public. So today and tomorrow's session is going to be on that. So great thanks everyone, and seems like everyone is at least has a fair understanding of the model so far. So now we are going to before we proceed, just there are different principles that have been adopted. Like I mentioned, we are having consistent sheets. That is, I'll also present the model itself. 1 second. We'll be taking you through both in parallel. Yes. So we have the, yes, please. So we are talking about consistent sheet outline, consistent column structure. So I'll explain what it means again. So every sheet is the rows, or the top 4 rows are always talking about the which sheet that we are referring to, what is the model, what is the last version, when was it last edited, right? These are automatically done in the model first. Second, everywhere from column E onwards is always year 2015 and it goes on till 2040 through the different sheets of the model. You can this is true for all sheets except the output sheets, but because there we have a dashboard. But in all sheets, column E will always be 2015, and column B will always be the description item, and you will see column AD will end with year 2040, indicating that is the final year of projection. So this is the consistent sheet outline and the column structure that we were talking about. Now, lastly, in terms of the consistent color coding. So as we were seeing here, the gray means you don't have to enter anything. Blue is where you have to enter. Gray means you need not even check what is there. And white is just a indication of the different, you don't have to enter the data. Blue is where you have to enter data. So anything that you see in blue, this is all related to data inputs. We'll go to the sheet line by line now, main assumption sheet, while we are doing this. But the sheets are also color coded uniformly. That is, all blue sheets are all related to input, all light green is related to processing, dark green is related to outputs. And at the same time, within the sheet also, everywhere you would see that the blue is only you have to enter data only in the blue cells. So that is the general principle of the model. Now let's come to the working principle. That is based on the historical data that you are giving, what does the model do? Because we already did the historical data update procedure, we understood how to update data. So now we need to see from this data, how do we go ahead, right? What is happening in this model? So you have, say for example, you have provided the total actual quantity of water produced from tube wells and WTPs. Now in your targets, which is in the input parameter sheet, you would say that I'm expecting so much of utilization rate, right? And in your capacity plan, you would also suggest these are the assets that I'm planning to build. Okay. So these are the 3 inputs that you are giving in different sections of the model. The actuals, which is the historical data on water production, target utilization, and the capacity plan is coming as a strategic input where you have decided, okay, I'm going to add so much more capacity of WTP in this year and so on. Now, based on these 3, and also by the model's own projection of water demand, it will be able to tell, okay, now I know utilization, this is the capacity, what is the maximum water that can be produced. Now, if this is the water demand and this is the production, what is the expected water supply? And if I know water supply levels and the tariff rates, what will be the revenue? So this is how a single line item that you enter in the model is interdependent to so many other parameters, that it will now, once you know the revenue, it is projecting your financial statements. right? It goes on to that stage. And also because you're talking about operating so many W2Ps, it also knows the operating cost and it will project the costs as well. So these are the different ways in which, the model, each row of data that you have entered in your historical data sheet interact with the financial outputs. Is this clear? Because this is critical to understand how the model works. So you have basically given some details such as number of connections or quantity of water produced or the bill value and so on. What the model does is it knows the capacity, it knows the actual quantity produced, it knows that way it will calculate the current utilization. Now once you have the current utilization, it is also you also have to set the target utilization rate. Now with this target utilization rate, it will know how much is the revenue that we can expect. This is like if you know the target utilization and the expected capacity plan, then what is the demand versus the demand, whether how much are we able to supply. Based on the supply and the losses calculation, it will say this is the water actually supplied or billed. Then it will come down to the revenue. Is this working principle clear? This is just a bird's eye view. I will go on to line by line, but just want to understand, like, are you able to understand how each line item is interacting with different sets of data in the model? Any doubts on this? Okay. Now I'm just going to explain this in this sheet. So for example, we have total number of water connections. Now, as I was saying, you will only enter data in the blue cells, right? So this includes the financial accounting data that you have entered in these blue cells. And then we have the operational data that you have entered in these blue cells, right? This is coming from the ops input sheet. This is coming from the input finance sheet. Now, the next stage is to see how this is being used by the model. So some indicators are immediately computed. Okay, so first is the coverage of water. So that is total number of water connections that is being actually catered by the Dakawasa system versus maximum number of connections that are there in the city. So using that, how does it do that? Because we have also given a demand projection, we have also given average number of connections and all that, right? So we have given a coverage target also and how the area increases. So based on that, it will say for example, you have increase the number of connections from 350 to 361. However, which is around 10,000 units increase. But maybe your total number of connections is increasing at a much higher rate. And since you are not able to connect for that, your coverage ratio has dropped here. Similarly, in the case of sewer coverage, while you are increasing 1,000 by around 1,200 every year, the sewer coverage data also is like, this is the coverage of the total connections, how many people are covered by sewer, covered with sewer connections. Now, NRW rate, as you can see here, it is coming from, what is the total value, water billed versus total volume, volume of water produced, right? It is a direct coming from there, but of course, this is for the past data. Now, when it comes to the projections, it is going to factor many things like the pressure of the connection, water supply connection, how many hours of supply you are giving and so on, right? But the logic is the same, that whatever water you're not able to bill, total, so anything that is not counted as a water billed by Dakawasa, right? That becomes versus the total water that has been produced by Dakawasa, the remaining becomes the NRW rate, right? Then we also have the collection efficiency, which is in terms of against the billed water, how much have you been able to collect, right? Total bill value collected by Dakawasa versus what is billed by Dakawasa. So there is a difference here. That is what is computed here. Then we also have water production, the percentage produced from WTPs, just to see how you want to increase your portfolio between WTP and tube wells. Then we have other operational indicators like staff per 1,000 connections, power consumption, or the percentage of domestic and commercial users, based on the number of, this is the tariff split also, the average water tariff, average sewer tariff, and the percentage of, this is automatically computed. It's not a direct exact estimation, but based on the you have given a water tariff, you have a water tariff. For this water tariff, if this is the water bill that you have collected and this is the water consumed, then it basically does a back calculation, say this means this much, this many people are domestic consumers, these many are commercial consumers. It is a back calculation from there, right? And it also computes the average water and average sewer tariff and average water consumed per connection per person. And then the average salary, which is coming as a measure of the salary and wages vis-a-vis the number of employees, right? So this is the overall set of indicators that the model is computing immediately. Now, of course, some of these have a lot of strategic importance. It will be used for future projections as well. But this part is completely based on actual data. Is this clear? Do you want me to explain this a little bit more? Any doubts on this? Anyone? Mr. Moklesur Rahman sir, as you would be using the model, just wanted to check is the, so these are the computations that we have done. The formulas are all inbuilt, and every time you add a data, it will automatically compute this for you. Just wanted to understand if you have any other doubts in terms of whether these indicators are all fine. Does it make sense? Is the computation methodology fine? Okay. Okay. So this is what the historical data is all about. So we did three things. We changed the year. So once we change a year here, automatically you see that the column opens up. Oh, okay, sorry. Was it not visible for some time or?
No, just now.
Okay, sorry. So we did three things. We changed the year in the main assumption sheet. Once we did that, a new column opened up. Then we learned how to circulate, what are the input formats, how to circulate, how to take data from the operational inputs and accounting inputs. So in that particular, so for ops inputs, we have a separate input format. For accounting, we have a separate input format. Once you just copy and paste the data from here, from there to here, it will automatically compute the indicators. Just to give an example, suppose I have copied and pasted, say 382,000. Is my input screen visible, or is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So when I do this, it automatically computes the coverage ratio. So every item that I input here, it is automatically going to take it into computation, right? So this is the broad, this is what we have seen so far. So we have covered the Divasa historical data sheet completely. And in main assumptions, we have only seen the timeline, right? So now we are going to the next step. What are the key assumptions, the general assumptions that we have, right? What is the meaning of this? How often do we have to change this? And do we have to change this at all? So I'm coming to that. Now, the historical sheet is completely fine with everyone. Can I proceed with the main assumption sheet? Okay, I'll proceed now. So in the main assumption sheet, while you see a lot of, everything is in blue, first warning is none of this data has to be changed on a yearly basis or on a required basis, need basis as well. I mean, it only has to be changed if you feel your demand projections have changed drastically, like you have made a new master plan and you think that would be more, you will have to update the demand, say changes or something like that. Very drastic change that has happened. Otherwise, the base model, whatever assumptions we have taken here, is more or less valid for everything. So I'll explain what are the different assumptions. So as you can see here, if I click on the key general assumptions, this section opens up. So it has, first is the inflation and currency assumptions. Then we have demand related assumptions. Then we have investment and performance linkages. So these are the different sections of the sheet. First, in terms of the inflation and currency assumptions, this is in the exchange rate, because you are getting loan in US dollars or euros, and you'll have to convert it into Taka. The cost you are incurring is in Taka. The exchange rate is used to assess the repayment, interest repayment, loan, all all loan related purposes, the project cost versus what is the actual cost that you have incurred. So for that purpose, this exchange rate section is required, right? So we have done this is a assumption, this projection has already been done, keeping in mind the current exchange rate trends, right? So if suppose tomorrow at say 2018, you are in 2019, you see that the current exchange rate it is 83, you write 83. This will be done by the nodal officer, but you will just have to change it for that particular year, and then make the future projections also similar. So it's just to show the exchange rate variations, first thing. Second, after the exchange rate variation, we also have the inflation rate, right? Inflation is in terms of how the overall, in terms of the economy, or how it has been performing. So this is again based on the actual past inflation rates available on public domain for for Bangladesh. So and this is considered relevant even today. If you feel that you have some recent data, say a recent wholesale price index differentiation, or there is a report where you come across any inflation changes has happened, you can include that number here and you can drag it. So this is only for the inflation. Now, how is inflation used? Inflation is just because you are projecting future financials, this will directly impact how our future revenue and cost items look like. The cost would be impacted by the cost escalation factor, and the asset value or the new asset that you're building, for the cost of those items will be impacted by both inflation and escalation factors. So these are again as required. If you come across any report or anything that is latest which is saying that this has changed to so and so, you can add this. But otherwise, the present scenario holds good for future projections. Even if you don't update this, the model will work. That is the main part. Even if you don't update this, the model will work. So you don't have to worry about it. Then the next part, which is the demand assumptions. This relates to population projection, the different connections that are there, and how their consumption pattern varies. So we understand that in 2025, Dhaka wants to have 617 square kilometers, and by 2035 the expected population is 29 million. So this is again used from the water master plan itself. So using that this model with this, so if suppose you feel 2035 actually the population is expected to go to say 31, I'm just going, so as you can see here in 2035, as per the water supply master plan, this projection is automatically done, and it says it's at 29 square kilometers, sorry, 29 million, all right? But if this has to change, if you feel no, this is we are now growing at a faster rate, so this will become 32. If I just change this here, automatically the model will adjust to say, okay, by 2035 if you're expecting 32 million people, then this is how the new projection looks like, right? So what it does basically is it does a year-on-year projection from the current base value from 2015, as on 2015 this is the population, and this is the population you're expecting by 2035. So just based on that, it is doing an intermediate projection for year-on-year. Now the second is the percentage of population below poverty line. This is in terms of, again, it's free to you can choose whether 14% or 13%, how you think Dhaka is growing economically. Even if you don't, again, anything in this section that we are discussing, even if you don't update it, the model will work fine and it will give you projections, right? But if you suppose that as of, say, you have gotten a recent census data, and that the percentage of people below poverty line in 2021 for Dhaka Vasa is only 9%, then you can update it, and that will be reflected and make the model more accurate, right? And the next part, which is in terms of the number of people per connection, we understand that Dhaka Vasa has grouped connections and not actually individual household or individual consumer level connections. So that is why this number of people per connection, which is the maximum, which is computed at total number of households that are there with the average household size. So this is the number of people per connection. Say in future, you want to have every household ke liye one connection, then this projection will also change. Again, these are other factors such as how much of your production actually goes into firefighting. Say, so 1% is the typical allocation presently done. We have even in the master plan as well. So we have kept it in the similar range. And other consumptions as a percentage of residential consumption, we have just tried to project like, user. Okay, you can use it as percentage of residential consumption or actual volume. If you have actual volume data, you can enter the actual volume data. Otherwise, you can enter the total percentage of consumption. That is 16% of the total residential consumption will be for other purposes. Or if you say actual volume, you know that if it is, so as you can see here, there are two rows, 27 and 28. One of this you can enter based on the drop down here, whatever you feel is suitable. And the model will take that and use it for its future projections. Lastly, we have the sewerage return rate, which is how much of your total freshwater supplied is returning back as sewer. So this is again as per the sewer master plan data. So 80% is taken as the sewerage return rate. So we have maintained the same. All this data, in fact, every number has been taken into consideration to match the latest water supply master plan and sewerage master plan. So whenever you are getting a new master plan or something, then you might need to check this data, but largely otherwise this data is completely fine. Even if you don't update this, the model will work. Is this clear so far? Any doubts? Can I proceed with the investment and performance linkages? Please feel free to ask. So as I was saying, not everyone is required to do these main assumptions or input parameters. In fact, what is more critical is the historical data, which will be collected and given and entered here. These are all done once in a while, and only if there is a new master plan or new sewerage master plan based on which your assumptions have changed drastically. Otherwise, the main assumption sheet largely need not be edited. While you see a lot of blue cells, no, only the nodal officer will be responsible for updating this, and this will only be updated again if there is any major revision. So, Mr. Mukhlesur Rahman sir, as you would be mainly responsible for doing this main assumption sheet, are you able to understand, appreciate the purpose of this? This is only for future projections and will only be done as and when required, and not on an every year basis. Even if you don't do it for every year, the model will still work. Is that clear, sir? Yes, sir. Okay. Now, in the interest of time, because this sheet is, again, as I was saying, except for the historical data sheet and the display dashboard section, the dashboard itself, it is other sheets are not relevant to all nodal committee members. So that in the interest of time, I'm going on to the input parameter sheet. We'll again go back to the line by line workings of the main assumption sheet. So if we have time towards the end of this session. So, but in main assumption sheet, as you can see, there are, just to conclude, we have different sections, which is projecting, taking data till 2040. The sections are, assumptions are related to demand, how investment and performance are linked. That is, how much is your cost of one tube bill? How much is your cost of WTP per MLD, right? This will be used in projecting future, like if you have so much of investment, how much of capacity can you raise? And if you have so much of capacity, what is the cost for that particular cost required to have that much capacity? If you need so much of water, MLD, to be produced, what is the cost for required for it? So to compute an investment requirement plan. So these are all done in terms of backward computations, but this is just a high level number. Of course, in addition, if you have a detailed master plan and if you already know for a particular tube bill, this is the cost, you're free to enter that. But this is the broad assumptions, which is in line with the master plan related assumptions as well. In addition, so how much, I'll come to the water network side more in detail as we discuss the NRW bit. In addition, we also have income statement assumptions and balance sheet assumptions. This is how is your salary growing? So for example, average salary per staff this is the present salary. It is expected to grow at say 7% per annum. Then how much is your pension provision? How is it increasing? So these are different revenue and OPEX heads that are being projected for the future financial years, right? So even if you don't do this again, the model will work. It is just that if you are able to have a latest data which is more accurate, you are free to enter it and the model will be more accurate to that effect. So in balance sheet assumptions, we have like assumptions in terms of how much of your percentage of income tax expense are you giving as advance income tax, how much of your gross properties typically gone as is depreciated, and amortization. So similar assumptions that we have. So even if you don't enter this, the model will again, just to iterate again, it will work. Now we move on to the input parameters. So main assumptions was all about future projections and what are the inputs required for future projections. Historical was all about the past data. Now, lastly, the input parameters is giving the logic for future projections. This is in terms of what are the strategic targets that Dakawasa needs to achieve. I will explain this through a slide and then we'll come back to the model again. Is my presentation visible to everyone? Yes, yes. Okay. As you can see, in the input parameters, we have three different sections. We have operational targets, we have tariff adjustment, and we have investment plan. Now, operational targets refer to your coverage target, utilization target, NRW targets, collection efficiency, and so on. So I will again just show this in the model itself. So these are the parameters if it is not clear. So it model automatically picks up the latest current value and shows it because this has been computed, right, in the Davasa historical data. So the target and the target year. So the target timeline is something that you can specify here. So if I say I want this to be achieved by 2030, it will take care of that. If so, the projections will change accordingly. But the objective is the same, that you have a timeline to achieve the targets and what exactly, when to achieve and what to achieve. You should achieve 98% of water coverage, 70% of sewer coverage, so on, right? So you can define these targets. And then it also defines the minimum physical loss, minimum commercial loss, which are both important to compute the NRW. So there is also collection efficiency target, staff per 1,000 connections. So this 5 has been kept as per global norms presently. All the items that you see here has been kept as per global norms. Power consumption per kiloliter. Every kiloliter that is produced, what is the current power consumption? So all these are different items that are, from an operational perspective, these are the different operational targets that you can see here. And also utilization, right? So that is the first bit on operational targets. Then the second is what we have, or what we call as your tariff plan. Now in tariff, there are multiple ways you can improve your tariff for future, right? You could say that, I am going to have a constant growth rate. Domestic water tariffs will always grow at 10%, commercial water tariff will also always grow at 10%, and so on, right? So you can define different growth rates and from when to when. So this is the base slab that you see here is applicable for 2019. Once till 2040, this is how it will be used. Or alternatively, if you're saying no, I'm going to project it for every year. This is how it is planning to change every year. So say suddenly in 1 year you want to reduce the tariff and again you are increasing. So it is free. You are free to do that. Right. So for example, if I say this becomes 12, I have reduced, I don't want it to be at 14, I've reduced it to 12, automatically the future projections also changed to continue with that trend. So this is in terms of the tariff assumptions. So we have seen already that there are operational targets, then there is tariff related assumptions. Last is what we have as investment plan related. This is related to what are the new capacities that are coming in terms of tube well, WTP, STP, or any network? Who is funding? What is their typical funding rate? And what are the financial ratios that you are targeting to help in this achievement? Right? So these are so in investment plan, as you can see, we have tube well, WTP, how these are protected. Now, interestingly, none of this has to be entered by you on a manual basis. But what you will have to enter though is in terms of if you already have a water supply master plan and you have a signed agreement, based on that, the data will be entered here. Like for example, this project is expected to complete by this year, and this is the expected fund utilization. Then that is used to say, okay, by this year, that means from the next year, we have a 450 MLD plant operation and so on. So that is how this model presently is working. So while I will explain about the input parameter sheet, which will be more useful for Mr. Mokhlisur Rahman sir as he is the nodal officer, I would like to take this time primarily to help you understand how these are, how, okay, we are entering so many different data. What is the use of this? How, what is going to happen with this data? So, so we saw that in operational targets, we have coverage, NRW, OPEX. So 3 different types of targets. And in tariff adjustment, we can have different growth rates. We can have different base values. We can have, we can even change it year on year, the tariff plan. Lastly, in the investment plan, we can change the time of the investment, the magnitude of the investment, and the source of the investment, right? So these are different strategic inputs that can be taken in the input parameter sheet. Now, because each of these are all interrelated, this will all affect your income and margins, how your operating cash flow look like, and the capacity, key financial ratios. Now, all these 3, every change you make will reflect on all these items, and it will reflect, revise the future financial projections and the capacity, key financial ratios for both Dhaka Vasa and any other funding agencies understanding. So now, I will be going on to each of these scenarios in detail. But before that, I'll just take a pause here and understand if you have any further doubts before we go on to the scenarios. So the actual data entry to be done on the input parameter sheet, again, will be done by the nodal secretary, sir. That will also have to be done on a year-on-year basis, based on any update that you have in terms of data availability, or a new master plan has been signed, new loan has been signed, and so on. So I just want to take your view. Is this process clear so far? Any further doubts? So as we were saying, the first role is collecting data and updating the historical data sheet, right? Then once you have given the data to the nodal secretary, he will be responsible for checking if the input parameters are final. He will have to discuss with you and arrive at the targets. And once that is done, the future scenario reports will be generated. So we have now covered in the whole process, we have covered till this point, right? Feeding all collected data. These are all historical data. Now, we also saw the assumption sheet and the input parameter sheet, which is related to this, ensuring that all other inputs are updated. And then in discussion in the 3rd committee meeting, the strategic inputs will be decided, based on which you will generate the model outputs. So we are going on to the last leg. The second row is primarily for the nodal officer himself. So we are now going to the last row, because that is where, again, it is important for all the committee members to be on board. So, but is the process clear so far? Is there any doubt? So Sohail Khan sir, is it clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, okay, great, sir. So now what I'll do, I'll be going to the outputs section. I will be taking it in terms of the presentation, as well as presenting it side by side to show you the dashboard. One second. So the dashboard has 2 parts. One is the current scenario view, and then it has a decision support too. Now, current scenario view will showcase, based on the inputs that you have already provided in the 3 input sheets. This is just assessing what, based on the strategic targets you have given and the past financial data and operational data that you have entered, what does Devasa's future look like?
right? That is the current scenario view. Now, decision support tool goes one step ahead and says, okay, now let us compare different scenarios, different ways in which you can have your coverage targets or different tariff plans and all that. Compare different scenarios and say which is the best for Dhaka Vasa to proceed in future, right? So when you open the dashboard, it has 5 major parts. So on the left side, you will see all the financial indicators. Then we have the summary of salient features on the right hand side, which is giving a overview of key operational as well as financial items. Then it shows how the water demand versus supply is presently, and how is the investment plan looking like. And lastly, it shows the financial projections, balance sheet, as you can see in the last, income statement, cash flow statement. All this is projected for future. So, and when it comes to the decision side, you have, so the current scenario view, just to say again, is comparing one item. That is, whatever you have entered, you have identified this is the target, this is the past data. Now tell me how my future looks like. That is current scenario view. Decision support tool is, okay, I want to compare different ways in which I can increase my coverage, whether I can achieve those targets or not, what is the investment required for that, and see how it looks like. So the decision support tool is comparing scenarios. Current scenario view is only for one scenario. So decision support system is what is going to help you to make your scenario reports. I will explain each of those scenario reports now, like what we mean by scenario reports, like what are the different things that you can compare. So as I was explaining, so we have operational targets, tariff, investment, so many different parameters, right? So I'm going to start off with the operation tariff plan. Okay. So tariff plan means you can change different, you can have different growth rates, you can have different base value, and or alternatively, you can change the value year on year as well. That is, when I say different growth rate, that is, say currently you're charging 12 taka for domestic customers, and you want to grow it at 5% year on year. Versus, what if you want to grow it at 8% year on year? What are the financial implications? Or what if you want to grow it at, say, 3% year on year? What are the financial implications? So that can be compared using the scenario view. So I have already ran this scenario and kind of put a comparative view here. So what if we have 5%, 8%, and 3%? What are the changes that are happening? You see that we are in the 5% scenario, Dhaka Vasa remains profitable from 2032. In 8% scenario, it's profitable from 2027. And in 3%, it is not profitable. So that means you need to charge minimum, 5%. But based on your future outlook, if Dhaka Vasa wants to be profitable by 2030, then probably you have to go with an 8% or a 7% increase in growth rate, right? That is one. Now, then different base value. Different base value is, say, from 2020, you want to have, currently you are at 11.5 taka or 12 taka or 37 taka for commercial customers. You want to have a different base value. You want to say, from 2020, I'm going to change it to 14 taka and 42 taka. What does it mean? How does my future look like? And I mean, you can also do a combination of both growth rate and base value, just to showcase that we have done a 14 and 42 at 8% and also 14 and 42 at 5%. Now, looking at the financials, what can you say immediately? Where the point where zero is being crossed. So it's profitable from 2032. In this, it is profitable from 2024. And in this, it's profitable from 2028, right? So if Dhaka Vasa wants to be profitable by 2025, then they should be going with a strategy of increasing their base value itself. Now, lastly, on the third, which is changing year on year. So changing year on year is, 1 year I will grow at 5% rate, 1 year I'll grow at 8% rate, 1 year I'll go at 0% rate. So there are different ways because we have the year on year input option. There are different ways in which you can do that. So we have tried to show you how this looks like. So if you're going at a 0, say because of COVID, you do not want to increase the public burden and you want to keep it at 0% for some year. Then after that, you're changing it to, you're putting a sudden high value and then again continuing at 5%. So in these different scenarios, what happens to to the Kavasa's financial statement. It can be profitable from 2032, 2034, and so on. So overall, to say, for example, you are tasked to come up with a tariff roadmap, and with the objective that, these are the investments that the Kavasa requires. Now tell me, how should I be, when will I be profitable, or what should be my strategy to be profitable by 2025? So that decision, say for example, since it's by 2025, then definitely only one works. But if you are to be profitable by 2030, then maybe something else will work, right? 14 and 42 at 5%. So this is more suitable, right? So such, you can compare different tariff growth options and take a suitable decision using this model. Is this part clear? The tariff plan, how we can compare different scenarios, or at least how the model is useful to come up with a tariff plan or future tariff strategy. Is it clear, sir, for everyone?
Yes, clear.
Okay. Now, similarly, we have a different operational targets also. So there could be coverage targets, NRW targets, OPEX targets, right? We will be, so this is subject, suppose you have, that this is the total investment available. Now with the same money, you cannot spend on both creating new network and replacing old network. When you replace old network, you have a good NRW. When you are, focusing on creating new network, then you get good coverage, right? So if you have the same investment, if suppose investment is not changing, how does your coverage and NRW change, right? So that is the thing that this model is trying to show. Now, before I go to that, I'll just take a small pause here and take you through the dashboard. So on the tariff side, so this is the tariff plan, right? So we have different tariff plans. Now you can compare, you can do something on a year-on-year basis, or if you want to do it on a growth based, or you have to do it as a growth based with a base value change. This is how you do it. So you do if you select in the drop down, if it has to be growth based, then this shows up in the model. This will become your base scenario. If you say that I want to do it year on year, then this becomes your base scenario. So both the options are feasible, and using both these options, the first thing that you see here will always be the base scenario outputs, and what you see additionally will be the other scenarios that you're comparing with. So say in this case, I'm comparing a 10% growth rate, 5% growth rate scenario, right? So it compares these two scenarios and gives the output. Yeah, that is how this works. Just a minute. I'll just take a small pause here. 1 second.
Sir, in the meantime, if you have any clarification on the tariff scenarios, you can ask us also. Essentially, the idea is to compare the two scenarios, and so that management can take a call on, depending on the objective of zero subsidy or howsoever, what is the impact on the subsidy. So the management can take a call on how to increase the tariff, 5%, 10%, 2% across different kinds of connection. So this is the objective, but if you have any questions, please request it. This is a very important aspect of our financial model. How does the tariff impact the subsidies ultimately? Sohail sir, anything from any question that, or is it clear? Is it clear to everybody?
Yes, there are so many things to be understood, but we are gathering the overview concept of the overview of the model. But when you will give our hands-on training. That means in the workshop in the next 1st and 2nd February, then I think it would be more clear to us, I think. And we are gathering the concept regarding the model.
Okay. So that the 1st and 2nd February is with much larger audience. There'll be maybe close to 20 to 30 people. It will be difficult for us to explain the workings of the model in such a great detail. This is a much smaller group. We have a set of 5-6 people, 6 to 7 people here. So I think in this group, if you have any doubts, we can go into much details. We can go into particular case. We can also, if you can start also working on the model, you can demonstrate what you have learned. So we can do all those things. On 1st and 2nd, we'll be there. I'll be there, but I don't know, because it's 20-30 people, how much of details you will be able to cover.
Sir,
So anyhow, I'll be there in Dhaka. What we'll do is we can after the workshop also, I can sit with you and with all the nodal officers also, and we can look at the workings also. That can also be done.
yes, sir, because as we have already shared the model, we will in fact reshare it again if you require the model as well as the user manual. I would especially urge the nodal secretary who would be operating the model to go through it and try using the model, get some hands-on try of different working through different sheets of the model, so that it can they can also have there'll be more doubts once they actually start operating the model. So I hope we will be able to answer any queries in this week as well as next week. But this week, because it's a smaller audience, it will be easier for us to address it directly.
So,
Now-
for example, tariff scenario, I would request Mukeshwar sir to also look at, can also do some scenarios by himself, and what is the impact on the financials if he changes the tariff. This is just one of the scenarios that we can build from tariff point of view. The scenario can also be built from the operational point of view, like NRW. What is the impact on financials with respect to NRW? So if you can, if you work on the model yourself, also you will also get some more doubts. You get some more clarity also sometimes. So we'll be able to address these issues in a smaller group. In a larger group, it is I mean, a lot of people are there. They may not appreciate the significance of the model. So we may not be able to cover that in such great depth. So yeah, I think it's fine, Shripada.
Okay. So in the interest of I know we are already nearing the end, but today I just want to cover, if it is okay with everyone, the different strategies that are there, because tomorrow let us focus on generating these reports and as well as understanding input parameter sheet to a little bit more detail as we go through it. So I'll explain what are the different. So because we have the same amount of money, coverage and NRW are actually competing for the same money. In that sense, if you have decided that you're going to invest 100 crore taka on network, whether it goes towards making new network or replacing old network, that is a contention. Now, when you replace old pipes, you are helping in using your NRW. When you are focusing on connections, then you are focusing on improving your coverage, right? So if all other things remain the same, this kind of comparison showcases how coverage and NRW are impacted, right? So say you have a coverage target of 100%. And in another scenario, you have a coverage target of 90%. Now, because your investment in the network remains the same, and so what happens is to achieve 100%, it is still slightly difficult, but 99% coverage is achieved, as you can see here, right? But because I'm focusing now in a base scenario, without any other intervention, assuming the same current coverage target situation remains, what happens is NRW goes down to 16% and coverage goes down to 97%. But with this, when I do 100% target for coverage, that means I'm focusing all my network investment on creating new network, new pipelines, new connections. So because money is going towards that, coverage is closer to 100%, whereas NRW has taken a hit, right? NRW has now, in fact, increased to 17%. That
That means from the same 100 crore, because I'm focusing on creating new, I'm not able to replace my old pipes and they have become defunct or there is more leakage happening. This is automatically generated in the model. As you can see from the second graph, which is water coverage and non-revenue water comparison. Similarly, if I had to say that the target is 90% now what happened? Now I'm not focusing on adding more network. I am focusing on, because I have the same money, I am now going to focus more on replacing the old pipes, which means my NRW will, I can prevent any leakages and losses in the system. So as you can see here, the coverage target is also achieved. NRW is now substantially small, right? So this is assuming everything else remains the same. That is, you have the same investment, same timeline of the investment. This is how the projections look like. Is this understanding clear? I'll also explain now from the NRW perspective. What happens if you are putting a target for NRW, right? Say the current NRW in a base scenario, you're looking at a 15% NRW target. With an NRW of 15% target for the same investment, I'm able to achieve only 16%. Whereas when I said, no, I want to focus and get 20% NRW, right? I want to get 20%, I'm okay with 20% NRW, automatically coverage increases. That means my focus is no longer on replacing old pipes or reducing leakages. My focus is on creating new connections, right? Because ultimately both are investment in the network. The lastly, if I say NRW has to be 5%, it says, actually with the money you have, you cannot achieve 5% by 2025. Maybe you can achieve 11% by 2025. But this means your coverage is going to take a hit, which is, 96% is what you can achieve with an NRW of 11%. So is this interplay between the NRW and coverage aspect clear? Because both are, NRW is non-revenue water, that is leakage water that is leaked from the system, that is, you are not able to bill in the system. Now, one of the key ways to rectify this NRW, while we can also improve your billing efficiency, collection efficiency and all that, but what is another important parameter is you should improve your risk of leakage in the system. That is by replacing and tending to your old pipes, water supply pipes. So because that is also an investment in the network, I had to do coverage to increase your connections also as an investment in the network. You see this, that with the same amount of money, there is always, you cannot achieve. So for example, tomorrow, if MD of Dakawasa says, I want to achieve NRW 5% and also coverage of 100%, then you can say that, no, with the current funding we have, we cannot achieve this. We need so much more fund to do this. So that is something this model can help with. Basically, it can tell you whether for the money you have, you can achieve these targets. What is the target that you can achieve for the given money? Secondly, it will say for this target to be achieved, what is the required money? Both, right? Both of these aspects can be answered by this model. I know I've already exceeded my time, but if it's okay, I can just take 5 more minutes to complete this, or if you would like me to take a pause here and continue from here from tomorrow, I'm fine with that.
It's okay.
I can continue, sir, for another 5 minutes.
It's okay.
Shri, your screen is frozen. Can you can you refresh your screen?
Is my screen not visible?
No, it's frozen. It's not moving.
Oh, okay. 1 second. Is it visible now?
Yeah.
So was it visible during the explanation of coverage in NRW?
No, it wasn't actually.
Saurabh?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
It was not.
Okay. So no, what I was saying is basically both of the same investment in the network. As you can see from this graph, right? We are showing water coverage, how it changes, which is the green line. And there is a blue line, which is non-revenue water, right? So with the same, for the expected investment timeline, you can automatically achieve 97% coverage and 16% NRW by 2025 and a 9% NRW by 2040. But
is if someone were to ask whether you can achieve 98% or 100% coverage by 2030 and by 2025, what and NRW of 10%, you can say that no, for the current money, we cannot, this is not possible. So to achieve, or conversely, to achieve so much of targets, both from NRW and coverage perspective, what is the required investment to help in this journey? So this is something that the model can help with. So first, it can give an operational performance plan. Second, it can give a capacity requirement or investment requirement plan. So both of these are outputs of this financial model.
Shripada,
Now,
also,
lastly,
Shripada, one question, one this thing. So NRW targets and coverage targets you mentioned. So how do we prepare these scenarios in the Excel also? If you explain that. Also.
yes.
Especially from
So,
the Excel, where is it available?
So in the Excel, it is available in the dashboard where we can make, scenario reports. We will be covering more of that in tomorrow's session, where I'll be showing how the scenario reports work. So we will have, in fact, buttons for each of these reports that I'm talking about, the 4 reports we are focusing on, which is, so we will be learning in tomorrow's session, just to give you an overview. We'll have a report on tariff adjustment plan, operational targets plan, capacity building plan, investment and financing plan. These are the 4 scenario reports that this model can help you generate, right? And along with them, for each of this, there is also a Divasa financials will also be projected. So you can use that also as reference. But these are the 4 plans, decisions that you can take out of this model. So
And
we
who
will be
responsible for preparing the reports.
So we have kept an output Excel again, just like how we had an input Excel. We also have an output Excel, which is from the dashboard. It will automatically make it into a report so that it is printable. Is it? Hello?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. Okay. So we have discussed till the operational targets for today. Tomorrow we'll take from the investment plan, but we will do it more in the model itself tomorrow to see how each of this report is generated, how you can compare, how you can make decisions. If so, with that, we are coming towards the end of today's session. Hoping to see you all tomorrow at again 4 p.m. tomorrow to take you through the model scenario reports generation. So I hope today's session gave an overview of all the outputs that are possible from the model, what are the decisions you can take, and the inputs required for that, right? So tomorrow is going to be pure output side of it. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.